Ruth needs to find food for herself and her mother-in-law, Naomi. They have returned to Bethlehem after a long and difficult journey from Moab. With no other means of support, Ruth decides to go out to the fields to glean, hoping to gather enough grain to sustain them both. Gleaning was a common practice in ancient Israel. It allowed the poor and the needy to collect leftover grain after the harvesters had done their work. This was a way to ensure that even those who had nothing could find something to eat. The practice of gleaning was not just about survival, it was also about community and compassion. Farmers were encouraged to leave behind some of their crops for the less fortunate, creating a system of support and care within the community. Ruth, being a foreigner and a widow, was among the most vulnerable in society, yet she bravely went out to the fields, determined to provide for Naomi and herself. She didn't know which field to choose, but she trusted that she would find a place where she could glean. By chance, or perhaps by divine guidance, Ruth ended up in a field that belonged to Boaz, a wealthy and influential landowner. Boaz was not only rich, but also a man of good character and integrity. Boaz was related to Naomi's late husband, which made him a potential guardian redeemer for Ruth and Naomi. This meant that he had the responsibility to help them in their time of need. Ruth's decision to glean in Boaz's field would prove to be life-changing. Boaz noticed her hard work and dedication, and he was moved by her loyalty to Naomi. He instructed his workers to leave extra grain for her to gather and ensured her safety while she worked in his fields. This act of kindness from Boaz was the beginning of a new chapter in Ruth's life. It was a turning point that would lead to a brighter future for both her and Naomi. The chance meeting between Ruth and Boaz was not just a coincidence. It was a moment of destiny that would change their lives forever. This encounter would lead to a series of events that would bring hope, redemption, and a new beginning for Ruth and Naomi. Boaz sees Ruth in his field. He asks his workers about her. They tell him about Ruth and how loyal she is to Naomi. Boaz is impressed with Ruth. He's very kind to her. He treats her with respect. Boaz makes sure Ruth is safe. He tells his workers not to hurt her. He tells her she can glean in his field. He even invites her to eat with his workers. Boaz does much more than he has to. He's incredibly kind and compassionate to Ruth. Boaz's kindness to Ruth is really important. It's not just a simple act of generosity. It's a profound gesture that carries significant meaning. In the context of their culture, Boaz's actions are deeply rooted in the traditions and laws of the time. It shows us a deeper spiritual truth. Boaz is a kinsman redeemer. This term might sound unfamiliar to us today, but it was a vital part of their society. A kinsman redeemer had the responsibility to support and protect family members in need. That means he's a relative who can help a family member who is struggling. This role was not just about financial support, it was about restoring dignity and hope to those who had lost everything. He can buy back their land. This act of redemption was crucial because land was tied to a family's identity and future. By redeeming the land, Boaz was ensuring that Ruth and Naomi could have a secure future. He can even marry a widow so the family line can continue. This was a way to preserve the family name and ensure that the deceased's legacy lived on. What Boaz does for Ruth is an example of this old custom. His actions are not just about following the law, they're about showing love, compassion, and commitment to family. He's stepping in to help Ruth and Naomi. In doing so, he is providing them with security and a sense of belonging. He's acting as their protector and provider. This role is a powerful reminder of the importance of family and community in times of need. This role of kinsman redeemer reminds us of the ultimate redeemer, Jesus Christ. Just as Boaz redeemed Ruth, Jesus redeems us, offering hope, restoration, and a future. Boaz is like Jesus in many ways. Boaz protects Ruth. He keeps her safe in his field and makes sure she has enough food. Jesus protects us too. He protects us from spiritual harm. Boaz provides food and shelter for Ruth and Naomi. Jesus provides for us as well. He gives us everything we need, physically and spiritually. Boaz is a redeemer. He saves Ruth from her poverty and sadness. Jesus is our redeemer too. He saves us from sin and death. Ruth Chapter 2 reminds us that God is always faithful. It shows us how God uses ordinary people to do his work. The story of Ruth and Boaz points us to Jesus, who saves us. We can learn from Ruth's faith and trust God to take care of us. We can learn from Boaz's kindness and be compassionate to people who need help. This beautiful story is still important today. It gives us hope and encouragement. It reminds us that God is always working in our lives. Are you ready for the next chapter? Just click here to go straight to it.